seeing only a few New York actresses. It was the kind of project Nick had been holding out for. As she tossed the linen hand towel into a wicker basket, the ladies' room door opened with a loud creak. It was the wife. Nick figured it this way. When she and her date had first been seated, the wife had spotted her. Everyone had. The cashmere dress always seemed to assure that. The wife hadn't seen her husband glancing at or speaking to Nick. He'd been careful, but she'd certainly been aware of Nick, filing her away in a subconscious danger zone for potential sexual rivals. Noticing that her husband had left their table just after Nick had gone to the powder room, she'd waited a few minutes and then impulsively followed, still relatively secure that there was no cause for alarm. It was their anniversary, after all, and the wife was quite attractive, probably used to being the most attractive woman around. Now the wife, who seemed tipsy, looked closely at Nick, then moved uncertainly toward a stall. Nick smiled a polite, unthreatening smile and headed out the door. And there was Wall Street, timing his exit from the men's room just so. Go on back to your table, Nick thought to herself. Instead, she raised one foot behind her and glanced back at it, marking time, checking one of her pumps for, what, scuffs? She wasn't going to speak first. What, do you call that color? He asked, taking a stab, sounding casual as all get out. Nick, making a slight swipe at the imaginary scuff on her not-yet-paid-for Bergdorf fuck-me-shoe, pretended to be surprised. Color? She asked with a slight smile. Her heart was beating fast, and she was feeling a pleasant hot-cold rush of blood. I mean, your dress, what do you call that color? She bit her lower lip and shrugged an innocent shrug. What do you call it? Well, let's see, he said, his eyes bright. Process of elimination, it's not pink. Nope, Nick said with a grin. I think we can safely establish that. He straightened his tie, buying time. He had at best a few more seconds to, what, ask her name? Get her number? Just how much could he betray his wife in a few passing seconds? Well, it's an amazing dress, he went on, flustered. I'm sorry, I just had to say something. You're sweet, Nick said, coming to his rescue. Okay, back to your table. Now. But she moved close to him and quietly went on. Now, here's what you wanted to say. My name is Wally Wall Street, and I think you're the finest piece of ass I've ever seen, and woe is me because here I am with my wife, and not just with my wife, but it's our anniversary, and I don't fool around, but I saw you, and I just had to say something because I'd never forgive myself if I let this opportunity go by. There was the slightest of pauses. How can I see you again? Asked Wally, doing his best to remain calm. Gosh, said Nick, I don't know. I'm sure you'll think of a way. Jesus, said Wally, smiling tightly and trying to look around the corner to where he thought his wife was sitting. Here, he said. Slipping his hand into a jacket pocket, he took out a business card and reached to palm it to her. Before Nick could react, the powder room door opened with its loud squeak, both their heads turned towards the sound, and the card floated down onto the marble floor. The wife emerged. Nick swooped down, picked up the card, and handed it to Wally. I think you dropped this, she said as though she'd never spoken, and headed straight back to her table. Now that's that, she thought as she sat down, smiling a delicious smile at her date, who looked like the happiest man on earth. My date, Nick thought as she put her napkin back into her lap. Old... what's his name? He was saying something to her about wine, and she seemed to listen, but she was in fact trying to remember his name. Her heart was still beating from her brush with Wally and the wife. She wasn't in a panic or anything. She just couldn't remember her incredibly adorable date's name. Well, she'd only met him yesterday. She smiled, nodded. He went on. How about a Beaujolais Nouveau? Or maybe something from California? She didn't really hear, couldn't have cared less about the wine. What's his name? She managed to glance over at Wally's booth. Wally was being especially attentive to the wife. He had apparently finessed the business card thing. Nick gave him points for grace under pressure. In less than the split second that Nick had been checking him out, Wally turned and glanced her way. Nick let him know she was looking this time. Kind of a reward. Maybe a white wine first,